Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pert.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things I'm talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Poet. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. We'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. We'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause the times is the man, the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have arrived.
The man, the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have arrived.
The man, the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio.
It's time to the man,
First
the
Contact
truth.
Radio. We have arrived.
Good morning, Earthlings. Welcome to First Contact Radio. How you doing today? Glad that you are with us yet again. So today would be the 15th of October. We're halfway through the month. We're zooming quickly to Thanksgiving. Well, Halloween first. Let me not get ahead of myself. We got that Halloween coming up, and then we have Thanksgiving and Christmas. And before you know it, the year's going to be over. We're going to be into 2016. So let's backtrack a little bit to where we are right now. Let's take a look at the day and what's going on today. Moon sign, just like yesterday, Scorpio. So what do we know about Scorpio? Scorpio is a water sign. Water is the element. Now, we're not talking about physical water because that's physical water. Okay? We're not talking about things in the physical reality. We're talking about watery energy. Energy like water. So it's a little bit different. Okay? So this is the water that deals and affects the emotional body. The emotions. The tarot card Death, as we've talked about, is the tarot card of Scorpio. It's about water and the transition that takes place. Death occurs not physically, but death occurs emotionally. And we feel those emotions, and we feel that there's a death of sorts because of what we experience from the emotions, how heavy they can be. And then, of course, we're still in the sun sign of Libra, so it's a time of balancing things out. And it seems like in life there is some sort of balancing going on. I have to remind myself about that as I'm looking and seeing, okay, there's dark stuff going on, there's negative things happening, but there's a lot of good things that are happening that are balancing that out. Because there's good guys out there fighting the battle just like there are the bad guys that are fighting the battle. And so we're looking to find this balance. And emotions is the key. Who's going to push the emotions? The powers that be are trying to push the emotions of people on the earth to get them to act in a certain way, to throw themselves out of balance. But each and every individual can keep themselves in balance by keeping their emotions in check. What's the way you keep your emotions in check? You got to put your armor on like the charioteer. You need to put that armor on because this is the sign of Cancer, the emotions. You got to put that armor on so you go forth and you protect yourself from all of the emotions that are in the world. That way you can make better decisions. 13 is the number of this card. 1 and 3 is 4. 4 is the Emperor. This is Mars. Mars is directly connected with the astrological sign of Scorpio. They work together. You take the 13 here of this card, 13 of this card, and you add the number 1 and 3, you got a 4. It says you got to put things in order. The color red, action. We need to use our efforts to put things in order when the emotions get out of whack. That way we can be able to move forward and not get caught up in all of the whims that is going on. You see, if we look at the energy every day, if we just look at it and understand that these are nothing more than symbols. It's a card, a flimsy card. It has no value, no purpose, no nothing. It's a symbol with a picture that helps us to understand, because the ancients, our ancestors over time, have gone through and used images, because we get images in our mind. Remember, it's a mental reality. Within this mental reality, pictures are projected into our mind and they have an effect. And so we use pictures to explain things. So on a daily basis, just like I showed you, you can look and see what's being affected. Emotions are being affected. This is an emotional time, but the emotions are not physical. Emotions can affect the physical, but emotions aren't physical. Emotions are on another realm, affecting a different aspect of our being. So the more that we're able to tune into that, the better off we're going to be. Now, some of the aspects that we have over the course of today. The wounded healer is being dealt with over the course of today. Scorpio is in trine with Chiron. Chiron is the healer. Remember the stories in Greek mythology of Hephaestus? He was the one who was wounded and disfigured, but he was still one of the deities, one of the gods. He was still one of those who had a tremendous amount of gifts. People often avoided him because of the disfigurement, but those who got the time to know Hephaestus found out that there was more to him than just that. So within each one of ourselves, we have a part of ourselves that is wounded, that needs to be healed, maybe a little bit disfigured. But when we let that when we let the light in us shine, it shines so bright that others are able to look past whatever disfigurement there is, and we actually have some sort of a healing process. A healing between how others see us, how we see ourselves, and so on. So we all need to heal ourselves on a daily basis because we go through the world, and just as beings moving through the world, we're hit with all sorts of things. Just imagine like a car traveling through the world. Car gets dirty. By the end of the day, having traveled through the various roads and whatever, the car is dirty. It needs to be washed off. Same thing with a person. We're moving through, our energy gets hit by all sorts of other energy. We need to take time to cleanse that off. It doesn't take long to do, but we need to be aware. Sometimes we get bumped and bruised over the course of the day. We get knocked around. We need to heal ourselves. Take that moment. Find out about what needs to be healed. And oftentimes it's our emotions. We get bent out of shape because of something someone said or something someone did. And in the big picture, none of it really matters except our own emotions that are getting caught up in a situation. And we have a void, of course, that's going to begin at 8 o'clock, which means we're going through the last aspects of Scorpio. And then it's going to be void all the way until it enters the next sign at 4:18 a.m. And then at 10:36 p.m., Mars is going to be in a trine with Pluto, deep transformation. Okay, so we need to put in order how and what's going on with us because we are transforming. And with all of this energy here, remember, this sign of energy can go different ways. On one hand, because this is representative of the astrological planet of Mars, on one hand, Mars is the Emperor, Aries. But it is also can be aggression, because if energy is not allowed out, it can become aggressive. It can become violent and warlike when it is finally released. So we need to, just think of how a balloon. You got a balloon filled with air. You pop the balloon, it can just explode, or you can maybe find ways to put the holes in it where the air just slowly leaks out. There's different ways in which it could be, or you can use the air in a usable way to perhaps guide the balloon flying along in different directions. So we always have ways in which we can utilize energy to help us, to hurt us. But as long as we're aware that we're in a field of energy that we're dealing with, then we have understood a great deal that's going to help us. Current moon phase is a 6% of the way full, making our way to the full moon. All right, the Mayan Oracle, Tu Cheshvan is the name of today. The Jewish calendar. 6 Cheshvan, the daily thought for today is there will come a time very soon when will be shown miracles so great they will make the 10 plagues and the splitting of the Red Sea appear as ordinary as nature itself. So great no mind can begin to fathom them, so powerful that they will transform the very fabric of our world, elevating in a way that the wonders of Exodus could not achieve. For then our eyes will be opened and granted the power to see the greatest of the miracles, those miracles that occur to us now beneath our very noses every day. Now to the Mayan oracle. It's a 13-tone day, which means we jump. We're going to jump from the eagle vision. So we're going to gather our vision together after we've gone through all of this phase, this wave spell of abundance and our subconscious and our dreams. We take those dreams and now we have a new vision, and we're going to jump with that vision. And we're going to jump to the next kin, which will be tomorrow, and that will be the kin number 16. Okay? So we're at kin number 15. Kin number 16, as we could see coming up here, is this question mark. The warrior asks questions. So we're going to move forward with our vision to a whole new wave spell. A wave spell of asking questions using our intelligence, because we've gathered wisdom and we have a new vision now. We're going to move forward with that new vision. The phrase for today, which is the cosmic eagle guided by the storm, is I endure in order to create transcending mind. I seal the output of vision with the cosmic tone of presence. I am guided by the power of self-generation. Space weather, the solar wind is currently at 424.3 kilometers per second. Our planetary K-index is quiet at the moment. Was up to a 5 yesterday. We're back down to a 2. Might get up to a 3. Large coronal hole right here, opening up. Probably be feeling the effect of that. M-class flare possibility is up to 40. X-class is now up to 5. Geomagnetic storm activity stable at 35% in the mid-latitudes. High latitudes at 50. And up in the sky tonight, 15th, you can see right here, you got the little moon, and off to the left we'll see Saturn. Look for the crescent moon, Saturn, and Antares right over here. Lined up in the southwest in late twilight as shown here. So that's what we're going to see tonight. Little moon, Saturn, Antares, and you can just see them all across. Moon, Saturn, Antares, left to right, or right to left. And there you go. That's our cosmic weather. Gets us started for today. That brings us up to UFO news. Here we go.
It's time for the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
Thanks, Dirk. Thank you very much. All right. The first sighting is over pyramids. And let me get you there. Here we go. 2 UFOs seen over Mexico pyramids. October 10th. Objects in question. You can see this is a cylindrical shaped object. Some sort of light appears to be hitting it the way it is shimmering here, or it is providing its own glowing source. Alright, the video is from October 10th by the Pyramid of Teotihuacan, Tlalnepantla, Mexico. Okay, you can see this one, it's moving slowly. Right here, you see that? Okay, very short video, but just enough to kind of get the gist of what is there. And then, of course, you've got the second one up here. Okay. So while we're on the Mexico, speaking of the Mexico sightings, remember I showed you the sighting up at Popocatépetl and how you can go and you can go to their site and you can look at the cameras. Well, I was, time to time I like to check it out myself, and so I went to look at the live webcam the other night. I didn't take any screenshots or anything, but sure enough, I counted about a dozen of these little white lights that seemed to be moving around it. I don't know what those lights were. They were similar to the ones that you saw. Don't know what they were, but they seemed to be flying all over the place. I found it fascinating to see them, and wish I would have got a screenshot. I didn't, but no big deal. If you check it out time to time, you'll probably see something there yourself. Okay. Bright UFO hovers over Naples, Italy. Naples ball of light flowing at low altitude over the park Pomigliano in the presence of numerous witnesses. So let us see this as well. Witness what was being witnessed by them. Okay, you can see all kind of people in the park here. And there they go, seeing this object in the sky. Okay, well, quite interesting indeed. And the video itself. Alright, very interesting. There you go. Check that out. Let's move on from there. The Portsmouth Ferry UFO. Teacher spots 2 more UFOs over Liverpool. Let me fix this here. Make it a little bit easier to see. Okay. A teacher, Kev Thomas, previously featured in my latest book, UFO The Search Continues, contacted me once again July 2015 with new photos of 2 separate UFOs. He crossed his path. July 29, 2015, Kev Thomas was returning from a trip to the Isle of Wight. The UFO that he witnessed in Portsmouth was photographed. The enlargement is below on a car ferry at about 8:30 in the morning. Okay, here's our object right there. That's a pretty good size object. Okay, and here's some of the other stuff. Whether the other was seen May 29th at Outage Pool in the Liverpool region when Kev was on a short day trip. The witness correctly stated that the strange object did not look like any known aircraft. The UFO displayed a shiny upper surface and a classic cylindrical profile. Okay. Here is over Loch Ness. We know about the Loch Ness monster that may be within these here waters. Alright, so let's see what we have here. A view of Loch Ness in Scotland, home of the legendary... Okay, this is the lake right here. Now you can add UFOs to the strange sightings connected to Loch Ness in Scotland. Photos taken by a vacationing couple earlier this year seem to have captured images of glowing objects hovering above the waters of the loch, home of the legendary Loch Ness monster. Huffington Post UK reported that on June 10th that Alan and Anna Betts were on holiday in the Scottish Highlands with other family members. Took some photos of Loch Ness while vacationing, but essentially remembering the photos taken with their dog Yuka, suddenly began barking the sky. Although they did not recall seeing anything out of the ordinary at the time, the light perusal of the photograph taken earlier in the day revealed what appeared to be glowing shapes hovering above the loch. Okay, and there aren't any pictures that go with it. Just the report. And this last piece here, this was on the front page of Yahoo News, linked from the front page of Yahoo News. And this story tells us, it says alien technology possibly spotted orbiting a distant star. Scientists recently identified an irregular mess of objects orbiting a distant star that defies most natural explanations. Nestled between the constellation of Cygnus and Lyra sits what might be the strangest, most mysterious star in our galaxy. The star, designated as KIC 8462852, is not particularly unusual in and of itself. What's odd is what astronomers have spotted or orbiting it. An irregularly shaped mess of objects that appear unnatural, possibly even alien, reports The Atlantic. The star, first flagged by the amateur astronomers in 2011 for its peculiar dimming pattern, as detected by the Kepler Space Telescope. By themselves, dimming patterns in distant stars are not that unusual. In fact, they are what Kepler scientists look for in their hunt for faraway planets. As planets pass in front of other stars, they momentarily block out a portion of the light being emitted by the star, thus revealing themselves. Thousands of exoplanets have been discovered this way in recent years. The dimming pattern in KIC, however, was unlike any discovered among the 150,000 stars that have been analyzed by the Kepler Space Telescope. The pattern suggested that KIC 8462852 was surrounded by a whole jumble of objects in extremely tight formation, Such pattern might be expected from a young star. With a solar system that was first forming, young solar systems are typically characterized by messy field of debris which eventually coalesces into a system of planets as the star's gravity molds and shapes them. But KIC 8462852 is not a young star. A field of dust surrounding a young star would give off infrared light, and excess infrared light is not observed there. We've never seen anything like this star, explained Tabitha Boyajian, a postdoc at Yale. It was really weird. We thought it might be a bad data or movement on the spacecraft, but everything checked out. So what is it? Scientists have considered a number of scenarios, from instrument defects to an asteroid belt pileup to planets crashing into one another, but at this juncture a list of possible explanations has been narrowed to two. First, it's possible that the debris could be a sea of comets recently yanked inward towards the solar system. The second possibility can't be ruled out. A wild one, an explanation that scientists don't put forward lightly. It's possible there is no actual explanation. It's possible that they are alien. Now, let me ask you this. When was the last time that you remember seeing a story on any of the mainstream networks or websites, a link from Yahoo, that was telling you about possible alien planet out there? You don't see that really too much, do you? Very interesting indeed what that might be. All right, there you go. I'll be back. We shall continue on momentarily. In the meantime, take a moment to wake up.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People shouldn't be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of them.
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw a UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. All right, let's continue on here, because there's some more for you to see. But now that you've got the wake-up call, it means we're going to talk about some things important. You know, I think I'm going to, I always want to remind you about connecting the dots. Connecting the dots. Remember, all information is a dot. One dot. Little dot. So you take all of the information out there and you put them out in some area and you put these little dots. But then you find out that some of these dots connect with other dots. And when you connect the dots, everyone remembers playing the connect the dots game in the picture books. When you connect the dots, guess what? Some of these dots actually make a picture of something else going on a deeper level. And once you understand that, you understand the process of how intelligence works. What's going on? We need to look beneath the system. So there's a couple of things. The reason I bring this up, there's some events that have been occurring in the world that we know of that are quite interesting, and to say the least. So we know about the migration issue that's going on. We know about the various protests and the political debates and on and on and on. Well, last night there was a weird outage that occurred across the country. And this outage that occurred, so system outage at airport customs causes delays across the United States. Tweets started flooding in around 7 p.m. A malfunction with computer systems at airports nationwide caused frustrated travelers to spend hours stuck in customs lines. The problem was with the Department of Homeland Security system that checks passengers' names against the country's terrorist watch list. Complaints from customers began to pop up on Twitter around 7 p.m. The official told NBC News that the system went back up at about 9:06 p.m. Affected airports thus far seem to be John F. K. International in New York, Boston's Logan International Airport, Hartsfield-Jackson International, Atlanta, Dallas-Fort Worth, Charlotte's Douglas International. It also appears some other airports like LAX was another one, and so on. So, moving on to the next one that's associated with this. This kind of also confirms same info.
U.S. computer system that checks Terror Watch. Come on now. There we go. U.S. computer system that checks terror watch list returns to service. So don't worry. Department of Homeland Security's computers went down across the country, but it was only the computers that checked for terrorists on the watch list. Nothing really that important. They were down for perhaps 2 hours, it would appear. Who knows what happened during those 2 hours? But what a bizarre, strange thing to happen. How did this happen? I don't know. What's the significance? I don't know. All I know is that it's another bit of information we can look at and add to the mix. Because we know that there's an issue with immigration. We know that there's an issue with terrorism and terrorists getting into countries. And all of a sudden, the Department of Homeland Security, who we know is not out for the people, all of a sudden their system goes down, and the system that checks terrorists on the watch list suddenly is not working. And it seemed to be that way for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Mighty suspicious. This article says the Department of Homeland Security computer that checks airline flight passengers list against terror watch list experienced a serious disruption Wednesday night. Very peculiar, my friends. Very peculiar. So what do we make of that? Connect the dots. Connect the dots. Do they connect to anything else? Sure do. They sure do. All right, we know about Cern. We know that Cern is doing experiments over there. They're trying to mess with time. They seem to be wanting to do things with portals. I find it very fascinating that the series Flash, which is on, have you seen the TV series Flash? Flash is all about the Cern collider, though it's not there in Geneva. In the TV series, it is exactly the same type of thing going on, and we hear these stories of things that opened and portal that opened during the course of this experiment, and now they're finding there were multiple portals that were open and things entering into the picture. So the storyline is going to continue to grow because they've opened up a portal, and they don't know exactly where the portal is. So look at this here. These are called image dumps. They're dumps of images from Cern, the Hadron Collider. And if you look at some of these here, look at this one right here. It looks like there's these little holes that seem to be in the midst of all of this. So the question is, if we're looking at this, are we looking at holes in the fabric of time and space? Is that what they're doing here in this machine? Are they opening up some little holes? And do these holes close back up? How do they work? I mean, if scientists are just figuring out and then they're just able to open up the hole, how do they know if they're going to be able to close it? How do they know that that's not going to continue to expand out from a small little rip to something that becomes bigger? We've all seen you get a little rip and sometimes it just takes off, and we don't know. But check it out. See what you think. From time to time, these images come through, that are interesting. Sometimes there's nothing much, but sometimes something seems very bizarre here. Okay. Ladies, this is directed towards you. I know that there's a lot of ladies in the world who cry for equality. Matter of fact, we saw this one who was a Jeb Bush plant that we now know at the Donald Trump, and she was talking about equality. Is she going to get paid the same as a man? Women, feminists, crying out that they want equality, they want equality. Well, guess what? Looks like you're about to get it. Congratulations. Congratulations, you're getting the equality you wanted. Women will likely have to register for the draft, Army Secretary says. Women will eventually have to register for the draft if true and pure equality is to be realized in the United States military, Army Secretary John McHugh said Monday. If your objective is true and pure equality, then you have to look at all aspects of the roles of women in the military, McHugh said, and registration for the draft will be one of those things that will have to be considered. So, Goes on to say draft registration was not a subject to be decided by the services or the Department of Defense, but will ultimately have to be dealt with by Congress. He expects a pretty emotional debate and discussion. However, more military occupational specialties are open to women. The debate on selective service system registration was inevitable, McHugh said. If we find ourselves as a military writ large, where men and women have equal opportunity, I believe we should. The question on women in the draft was posed to McHugh and General Mark Milley, the new Army Chief of Staff, at the annual 3-day meeting and exposition of Association of the U.S. Army at the E. Walter Washington Convention Center, Washington, D.C. So, to the subject of women registering for the draft was a topic of debate at an Aspen National Security Forum in Colorado this summer. So, ladies, those of you crying out there for equality, congratulations, you're going to get it. You're going to get to go to fight in wars just like men do. I mean, you're going to get to be drafted. Isn't that awesome? You wanted equality? Equality you're going to get. Maybe you might want to rethink that strategy. Maybe this isn't the type of equality that these ladies are looking for. Maybe it is. I don't know. We shall soon find out, because it seems that things are being put into effect. Now, this next system here, I just want to give you some brief about it, provide you the link so you can do some research on your own. But the United States military uses a system in which they communicate with each other called the emergency action message. And these messages are put out. Let me just take you to the Wikipedia. It says the U.S. military strategic nuclear weapon command and control system. An emergency action message, EAM, is a pre-formatted message that directs nuclear-capable forces to execute specific major attack options or limited attack options. In a nuclear war, individual countries or specific regions may be included or withheld in the EAM as specified in the Single Integrated Operational Plan, or SIOP. EAMs utilize cryptographic protocols to authenticate the messages, thereby ensuring that they cannot be forged or altered. In the United States, the EAM will be issued from the National Military Command Center at the Pentagon, or if it has been destroyed by the enemy's first strike, by the alternate National Military Command Center, Site R at Raven Rocks, or by the Boeing E-4B National Airborne Operations Center. Messages are sent in digital format to nuclear-capable major commands via the secure automatic digital network. The messages are then relayed to aircraft on the alert to the U.S. Strategic Command at Offutt Air Force Base in Omaha, Nebraska, via the single-sided modulation radio transmitter of the high-frequency global communications system. The EAM is relayed to missile-firing nuclear submarines via special transmitters designated for communication with submarines. The transmitters include those designated to operate at a very low frequency. The submarines pick up the messages via special antennas. Nuclear-capable forces will then be expected to carry out an EAM without fail. Manned bombers may be recalled, but missiles from land-based silos and submarines cannot be recalled. Sky King messages are also read in the same network as EAMs, also known as Foxtrot broadcasts. These messages will interrupt an EAM if needed to be read. They contain a high priority and a time-sensitive code for orders that need immediate attention. So this is the part that I want to bring your attention to, these Sky King messages. Because it says here that these are time-sensitive and they contain high priority. The reason I bring this up is there are individuals, many, who monitor the various networks and channels of these messages. And when something comes up, they bring forth this information. Usually they're just a basic message. Here is a code that's used. It's called the NATO phonetic alphabet. And you can see here, the various code, how it's used. So what might happen in this case is they're going to call out and they'll, spell out a word or a phrase or something using, this is Alpha Bravo Charlie, and using this, and that way they pass messages along. And you can go down and see how it works and so on. It said the International Radio Telephony Spelling Alphabet, commonly known as the NATO Phonetic Alphabet, also known as the ICAO, radio, telephonic, phonetic, or spelling alphabet. The ITU, radio, telephonic, or phonetic alphabet, is the most widely used radio, telephonic spelling alphabet. Although often called phonetic alphabet, spelling alphabets are not associated with the phonetic transcription system, such as the International Phonetic Alphabet. Okay, so basically, this says the history. This was developed in order to account for discrepancies that might arise in communication. Okay, and then the code words. The final choice of code words for the letters of the alphabet for the digits was made after hundreds of thousands of comprehensive tests. So basically, you know how it works. We substitute these in there to help us understand. So there are those who are monitoring the networks, and in their monitoring their networks, they come up with different messages and so on. And so lately, today, I've seen 4 different linkings to 4 different messages that were picked up of the Sky King message, in which they utilized the term afterwards, collapse. And then they just close out their message. And I don't know anything about all of how this works, other than as I'm reading through and people that have been monitoring are making posts, they're saying they haven't seen this collapse on a regular basis. There seems to be some priority to what is going on. I don't know what it means. There are some references there that last time people saw the collapse message was during 9/11, 2001. Again, this is for you to research. If you may know a whole lot more about it than you do, because I just explained to you the length of what I know about it. But I do find these messages interesting. I go listen to them from time to time, and usually there's nothing out of the ordinary. But when something is out of the ordinary, you usually find a posting at a forum. I like to check out a couple of different forums. Godlike Productions, really good forum. Above Top Secret, it's another great forum. The beauty about these forums is you have people who are out there researching what's going on in the world, alternative media, world news, and they're posting on there. And a lot of times you'll catch stories, breaking events that will be occurring, and you'll learn about in social media or through these various networks long before you get to any major news sources. So it's a great chance if you want to really catch up on what's going on. Check out some of these forums, and particularly go check out the 2 that I just mentioned. They're really very, very good sources of information to see how people are thinking out there in the world using their brains. All right, I want to change gears here now, because we know there's stuff going on in the world. Crazy, nonsensical stuff. But we understand that this is par for the course. How do we know? Because that's what we've been told that's going to happen, that there's going to be crazy times, that we just need to be strong. Well, how do we remain strong? It's a good question. How do we remain strong in the light of all that is taking place? Well, that's what faith is about. Faith is not a blind moving forward. It's not blind. Faith is fully aware that a situation is going to be better by taking a certain action. So faith is knowing that everything is going to work out okay, because we understand that there is a bigger hand moving things along, and that if we simply have faith and trust that there is a divine plan for all things, everything works out. But we can't just be blind about our faith. We have to really take action. It takes effort to be faithful, because it's easy to be skeptical. We know that, don't we? But to have faith in something, it takes effort, it takes work, it takes courage, because without those things, one's not going to have faith. Faith and courage, they all go together, because faith allows us to. It allows us to know that things are going to work out for the best, because there's a bigger hand, there's a divine hand, there's an intelligence behind all things. And once you know there's an intelligence behind all things, it's easy to have faith that if that intelligence is operating according to the laws and the rules of its workings, then everything is going to work accordingly. So faith is really just kind of knowing how things work, if you boil it down to that aspect. So we learned a lot of lessons about faith from the various teachers that have been upon planet Earth. One of those most prominent is Jesus Christ, Yeshua. And we know the stories in the Bible about Yeshua, as we've been told in the New Testament. And the whole idea that the New Testament is leading up to is the death, like the crucifixion, and then, most importantly, the resurrection of Yeshua. Resurrected from the dead, what that meant. We don't hear a lot of stories from the Bible about what happened after Jesus returned. They get in bits and pieces of it, but they don't really go into full depth like they could. I don't know why, because that seems like it would be the very important part to know. However, Jesus, Yeshua, did live upon the earth for another 40 days after the resurrection. Did you know that? For 40 days after the resurrection, he continued to remain on earth and continued to teach. But his teachings were not necessarily in public, they were in private. He was teaching his apostles, and he was sharing with them that which he experienced and learned from his time between the death and the resurrection. Seems to me that would be very important information to know about, considering we went through the whole story of watching Jesus be crucified, and then we heard about him raising from the dead. Now we want to find out, well, what'd you learn? What'd you see? What did you experience that we need to know? So this book here, this reading, I'm going to read for you here and just get into today, and we've gone over it. It's the Apocryphon of John. It means the secret book of John. And this was one of the books that was part of the Nag Hammadi findings in 1945. These books were found in Nag Hammadi, Egypt. And these books contained writings that go back to the time of Jesus, and writings from various apostles. And they all tell the same story over and over and over again. From one book to the next, they're telling the same story. But this story somewhat contradicts some of what is told in the biblical stories. So let me get to some of this here. The Apocryphon John is commonly referenced by two other names: the secret book of John and the secret revelation of John, depending on how the word Apocryphon is translated. There are 4 surviving Coptic manuscripts of this text, 2 shorter versions found in the Berlin Codex and the Nag Hammadi Codex III, and the longer version found in Nag Hammadi Codex II and Codex IV. This translation, prepared by Dr. Weiss for the Gnostic Coptic Library Project, uses all 4 manuscripts to produce a single text. Separate translations of the short and long versions, along with the extensive additional resources, are all available at the Apocryphon of John collection in the Gnostic Society Library. So let me get on with the beginning here. The teachings of the Savior tells you right off the bat where this is from. The teachings of the Savior and the revelation of the mysteries of the things hidden in silence, even those things which he taught John, his disciple. Okay? So what we have here is Yeshua, the Savior, is going to reveal the mysteries of the things hidden in silence to John. And it happened one day when John, the brother of James, who are the sons of Zebedee, had come up to the temple, that a Pharisee named Arrhenius approached him and said to him, "Where is your master, whom you followed?" And John said to him, "He has gone to the place from which he came." The Pharisee said, "With deception did this Nazarene deceive you, and he filled your ears with lies and closed your hearts and turned you from the traditions of your fathers." Then I, John, heard these things, and I turned away from the temple to a desert place. And I grieved greatly in my heart, saying, "How then was the Savior appointed? Why was he sent into this world by his Father? And who is his Father who sent him? And what sort is the aeon to which we shall go? For what did he mean when he said to us, 'This aeon is which you will go is the type of imperishable aeon'? But he did not teach us concerning the latter of what sort it is." Straightway, while I was contemplating these things, behold, the heavens opened, and the whole creation which is below heaven shone, and the world was shaken. I was afraid, and behold, I saw a light, and a youth who stood by me. Well, I looked at him, he became like an old man, and then he changed his likeness again and became like a servant. This was not a plurality before me, but was a likeness with multiple forms in the light, and the likenesses appeared through each other, and the likenesses had three forms. He said to me, John, John, why do you doubt? Or why are you afraid? You are not unfamiliar with this image, are you? That is, do not be timid. I am the one who is with you always. I am the Father, I am the Mother, I am the Son, I am the undefiled and incorruptible one. Now I have come to teach you what is and what was and what will come to pass, that you may know the things which are not revealed and those things which are revealed, and teach you concerning the unwavering race of perfect man. Now therefore lift up your face, that you may receive these things that I shall teach to you today, and may tell them to your fellow spirits who are from the unwavering race of the perfect man. And I asked to know it, and he said to me, the monad is a monarchy with nothing above it. It is he who exists as God and Father of everything, the invisible one who is above everything, who exists as incorruption, which is in the pure light into which no one can look. He is the invisible spirit of whom it is not right to think of him as a god or something similar, for he is more than a god, since there is nothing above him, for no one lords over him. For he does not exist in something inferior to him, since everything exists in him. For it is he who establishes himself. He is eternal, since he does not need anything, for he is total perfection. He did not lack anything that he might be completed by it, but rather he is always completed perfect in light. He is illimitable, since there was no one prior to him to set limits to him. He is unsearchable, since no one exists prior to him to examine him. He is immeasurable, since there was no one prior to him to measure him. He is invisible, since no one saw him. He is eternal, since he exists eternally. He is ineffable, since no one was able to comprehend him, to speak about him. He is unnameable, since there was no one prior to him to give him a name. He is immeasurable light, which is pure, holy, and immaculate. He is an ineffable being, perfect in incorruptibility. He is not in perfection, nor in blessedness, nor in divinity, but he is far superior. He is not corporeal, nor is he incorporeal. He is neither large nor small. There is no way to say what is his quantity or what is his quality, for no one can know him. He is not someone among other beings, rather he is far superior. Not that he is simply superior, but his essence does not partake in the eons, nor in time. For he who partakes in the eon was prepared beforehand. Time was not appointed to him, since he does not receive anything from another, for it would be received on loan. For he who precedes someone does not lack, that he may receive from him, for rather it is the latter that looks expectantly at him in his light. For the perfection of his majestic, he is pure, immeasurable mind. He is aeon giving aeon. He is life giving life. He is blessedness giving blessed one. He is knowledge giving knowledge. He is goodness giving goodness. He is mercy and redemption giving mercy. He is grace giving grace, not because he possesses it, but because he gives the immeasurable, incomprehensible light. How am I to speak with you about him? His aeon is indestructible, at rest, and existing in silence, reposing and being prior to everything. For he is the head of all the aeons, and it is he who gives them strength in his goodness. For we know not the ineffable things. We do not understand what is immeasurable except from him who came forth from him, namely from the Father. For it is he who told it to us alone. For it is he who looks at himself in this light which surrounds him, namely the spring of the water of life. And it is he who gives all the aeons, and in every way, who gazes upon his image, who he sees in the spring of the Spirit. It is he who puts his desire in the water light, which is the spring of the pure water light which surrounds him. And his thought performed a deed, and she came forth, namely, she who appeared before him in the shine of his light. This is the first power, which was before all of them. and which came forth from his mind. She is the forethought of all. Her light shines like his light, the perfect power which is the image of the invisible, virginal spirit who is perfect. The first power, the glory of Barbello, the perfect glory in the eons, the glory of the revelation, she glorified the virginal spirit, and it was she who praised him, because thanks to him she had come forth. This is the first thought, his image. She became the womb of everything, for she is who was prior to them all, the mother, father, the first man, the Holy Spirit, the thrice male, the thrice powerful, the thrice named androgynous one, and the eternal eon among the invisible ones, and the first to come forth. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. So what we have is a description of this being, God yet beyond God, this essence that is everywhere. And this essence gazed, as I said, into the water of life around it. Now, we're not talking about physical water. We're getting into these metaphysical areas: fire, water, air, earth. So the thought of this mind of God went forth, looked, and expressed itself into the water, into the emotions, and from that, the feminine presence came forward. But when that feminine presence came forward, it was recognized that that feminine presence existed before all things, which was where the first presence originated from to begin with. So it is understood then as the calling forth the male and the female energies that are together are one and the same, calling each other forward, understanding each other as polarities of energy that work together in unison in order to be able to continue to manifest. We're going to continue on from here tomorrow with this, because what we find out is that once these two connect and are aware of each other, a spark of energy is created, and that spark is the Christ consciousness. And that Christ, that gives us the trinity of energies: the Father, the Mother, the Christ consciousness. And from these three energies, all of life is continued to be created. Again, none of what I've referred to is physical. This is all taking place on higher realms. But as a reminder, just so you can see here, according to the principles we've already established, it's a mental universe. We've heard the mind of God brought this forward, that all aspects of this mind correspond with every other aspect of it. So in essence, a drop of water is not the whole ocean. If you take a drop of water from the ocean, it's not the whole ocean. But within that drop of water contains the properties of all the water that's in the ocean. And that drop of water, when put in, becomes part of that ocean. You can't distinguish that drop from the rest of the ocean once it goes in. The drop and the ocean are one. In the same way, when Yeshua said, "I and my Father are one," he understood that he was a drop of divinity, a drop of God. And he could stand on his own as a drop of God. But then when he would allow himself to merge into the great picture, to correspond with the greatness, that drop of God became God, because you couldn't distinguish that drop once you put it in from everything else, because it was a part of it, because that drop contained within it all of the essence of the bigger. This is just a smaller version, a drop. So we, my friends, are all drops. We are drops of God, drops of this energy, part of this huge sea of life. And we have the ability to correspond with the highest aspects of divinity. The only thing that keeps us from doing so is the illusions around us that we're not able to do this. And these illusions are everywhere. So we need to use our minds. We need to be strong. If Star Wars reference helps, we need to increase our ability to understand and use the Force, just like Obi-Wan Kenobi. Okay? We need to use the force. We need to understand this power of God that flows through us, around us, in us, and everywhere. And as we do, we become much more effective in life because we are operating in the way we should. We're corresponding, and once we correspond, when you call somebody, when you correspond with someone, you make that connection, things happen when that connection is made. There's a communication that takes place. Things change because ideas are transferred in a communication. Right now, I'm transferring ideas to you because ideas were transferred to me. And you're going to take what you're hearing, you're going to transfer those to others. And we share this, and that's what's going on in the internet and in the world. We're sharing information from one to another. We're corresponding with each other. We're communicating with each other. And that's what it's all about. Communicating, coming together, working together. Okay? So there you have it. I'll continue on tomorrow with more of that. Let's get to the Warrior of Light. This is our passage today. It's page 125. It's just a storm in a teacup, says the Warrior of Light. But he never exaggerates his difficulties and always tries to remain calm. He never judges someone else's suffering. A small detail which does not affect him to the least could serve to ignite the storm brewing in his brother's soul. The warrior respects the suffering of others, does not try to compare it with his own. A cup of suffering is not the same for everyone. Let's go ahead and close your eyes. Take a deep breath and exhale. Take another deep breath. Exhale again. Now I want you to imagine with each breath that this ocean of God is flowing through your being and then out into the world. And as this ocean of God flows through your being, you feel this immense energy available to you. And you feel that the aspect of you that is connected to this is strengthened and enlightened by this passing of information given to us as the ocean of God corresponds with our being through our breath, through the air. So we feel this breath of God, this essence of God flowing through our being. And it reminds us that we are connected to the divine. And as we are reminded, we begin to wonder how we didn't realize this all along. And with that, we see examples in the world. Examples of systems put in place to keep us from looking into ourselves. Systems that want to take us away from looking into the divinity. That want to lock us into the physical world. Lock us into the illusion. And as we do connect with this divine aspect of ourselves, we find that these illusions disappear. We find that we are able to see clearly all the ways in which these blockages try to occur. And we understand that there are those who are trying to keep humankind from connecting with their God self, with their divinity. So to those individuals who are doing so at this very, very moment, let's just send them a dose of love and an extra dose of light. And let's just imagine that this love and this light hits them so hard that it shakes their very consciousness. And in the shaking of their consciousness, the cobwebs and the chains which are holding them prisoner release. And they begin to see the error of their ways in creating illusions for the people. So let's just imagine this day as we move through the world. that we are opening people's eyes. Opening people's eyes simply by sending them light and love. Light that they might see in the darkness that has surrounded them, and love to wrap around them, that they know that they are protected and safe in this world. So let's just keep sending out this light and love, that eyes may be opened, that people may see what is truly taking place. Let's go ahead and now let the subconscious mind continue on that journey, and let the conscious mind come back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Go ahead and take another deep breath. Exhale. And open your eyes. And that's it, my friends. That's it for today. Look, I know I show you the things that are going wacky in the world. You know they're there. I know that they're there. We don't want to fixate on them because they're part of the illusion. We want to be aware simply that they are there, so we know what it is we need to look past. Once we know that they're there, it makes all the difference in the world. Awareness is half of the battle. So let us go forth and be aware of what's around us. And let's just keep sending light and love to all the darkness and confusion that exists. And in doing so, we'll see eyes open. We'll see people acting differently. We can make a difference one by one by one. We can all make a difference. None of us are helpless. None of us are helpless. We all have the ability to make a change. And when all of us get together collectively with our minds by focusing on love and light, we create a huge wave of love and light that helps the people on planet Earth to see what's going on. And imagine when the more people are doing this than aren't, imagine what we're going to be able to create. We're the ones we've been waiting for, my friends. It's all up to us what's going to go on. We just have to keep our faith strong, keep our trust in God, and not get caught up in all of this nonsense that's going on, because that's all it is. Rumors, lies, deceit, all intended to keep you from going inside to see what's in your heart, what's in your being. So don't let it. Don't be afraid. All is well. All is well, and let's just continue making it better. That's it for today. I love you. Keep loving each other, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace. I'm out of here.